You are listening to the On Purpose podcast. First responders, your strength, speed, and safety matter. That's why Veritas Athletic Performance delivers remote training built just for you. Led by Coach Matt Erdman, a 14-year law enforcement veteran and certified coach, our programs focus on movement, not just muscle, to boost performance and cut injury risk. Through the Train Heroic app, your training is personalized, monitored, and adapted wherever you are. Train smarter, serve stronger, and protect what matters most. Veritas Athletic Performance, your readiness is our mission. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's edition of the On Purpose podcast, where it's our pleasure to show up with you each and every week, getting you moving, getting you thinking, getting you pondering. Maybe there's more to life. And this week, I'm super excited to share with you one of my friends, somebody I've known now for almost 20 years, a veteran, a first responder, and a founder of Mission's Purpose, a community helping men heal, grow, and rediscover who they are beyond the uniform. My friend Garrett Pastor has lived the weight of service, the struggle of transition, and the power of finding purpose again. His story is real, grounded, and deeply needed, and I'm honored to bring him on the show and share it all with you. So Garrett, my friend, welcome to the On Purpose podcast.
Hey, thanks, Jerrod. Yeah, that was crazy. Great introduction. But you said 20 years. I was like, holy cow. Has it been that long?
Has to be close, because when did you start police work? 2008?
Oh, geez. I don't even remember. But yeah, I was just thinking back. It was like 20 years, man. It just, time flies. It's wild.
No. Well, especially when I still look like a baby. I ain't going to lie. Like, it kind of loses track there.
Well, like you were saying earlier, man, if you would have shaved, man, you would have been looking real babyish.
I know. Not the grays give you away, right? That's that experience, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Garrett, let's get you warmed up. You know how we do, we like to get the mind and the body moving. So here we go.
All right.
Warm-up questions for you. What's the best one-word description of you?
First one that came to mind was selfless.
Why? What makes that pop in your head?
You know, I think it's just through my adult life, through the military and those things, it was always about how can I contribute? How can I help other people? Especially in the military, it was, hey, your brother's sucking, so how can I make his life better? Whether that's carry his pack because it's too heavy, whether it's giving him, the last drink of your canteen. It was just ingrained in us through the military. And, it continues to life. Like my kids, how can I serve them to bring them the life that they want, and those things. And I think it was just ingrained in me since, joining right out of high school. So that was just the first one that came to mind.
I love it. I love it. What's the favorite quote you have, Garrett?
A quote, one that kind of stuck with me, and it's kind of recent. I just heard it maybe, 3 months ago was, now I can't forget. You put me on the spot. All right. So you'll never be ready to start because ready's not a feeling, right? That really aligned with me because, the ready piece is really those limiting beliefs, like what's under the surface of not feeling ready. Is it because I'm scared of what other people will think? Is it, I think I'm not smart enough to do what I want to do? Is my why not big enough? Do I not have the support? It's like, what are these limiting beliefs of not ready, right? And so that really stuck with me because I always was like, well, I'll start when I'm ready. I'll start when this happens or this and that. So it was always just one of those things that stuck with me. It's like, dude, just do it. If you have a big enough why in life, the hows to figure out how to do things will come, right? Yeah. And so that's really one I've always thought about is ready's not a feeling, it's just an excuse, right? So let's dig a little deeper of what's holding me back. Why am I thinking these things? Why am I not ready? And ready is not a feeling, right? It's those things underneath it that are holding us back. So
if your life had a theme song, Garrett, what would be your theme song?
Theme song? I don't know. I don't know if it's a theme song, but it's one that I can really relate to right now. And it's got me through some hard times is Pop Evil is one of my favorite bands. And they have a song called Worth It. So it sings, it's kind of like, it's saying, hey, you're going through these troubling times, but the chorus is like, you're worth it. So everything you think of, or you're going through these hard times, just remember that whatever it is on the other side is you are worth it. So whatever challenges, tribulations you're going through right now is don't do it for someone else. Don't do it for another reason. Do it for yourself because that's what you deserve and you're worth it. So that was kind of my theme song. I guess one that came to mind is that's put me through a lot of hard times in my life. So
I love it. What about a favorite book or a book you find yourself going back to repeatedly?
Think and Grow Rich. That was just one that I grew up and I was reading that. And, when I was younger, it was always about how to become wealthy and those things, but there's so much more to that book rather than just getting rich and those types of things. It's like, hey, there's so many life lessons in there that when you read them and you can kind of correlate them to how you are or where you are on your path and in your journey, that you can truly relate to. Like, a big one for me was your circle, right? That one's huge because if you're in the wrong circle, man, it can either pull you from what you want or it can guide you to what you want. So that was a big one for me. But
yeah, it's good. All right, one last question for you, Garrett. You get to have dinner with one person. They could have passed or still be with us. Who would you have dinner with, and what would you want to ask them?
I don't know why this came to mind, but people are going to listen to this and be like, this guy's crazy. But Hitler. Just popped in my mind.
Really?
I think I'd sit there across the table and just be like, so you want to talk about it? Like, just kind of get his perspective on things, because we get our perspective through U.S. history and those types of things. But what was kind of the meaning and his story, that other side of the story, right? Because we're told one story, the U.S. side story. But, I just interested. And I've always been a history buff, so that was just one guy that came to mind, and I'd like to hear his story.
That would be fascinating for sure.
Probably not who you thought I was thinking of, but he popped into my mind, and that would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. I never know what I'm going to get. Looking for the perfect escape? Step off the grid and into the wild heart of Old Florida at the Hideaway, a nature-based family campground tucked along the legendary Suwannee River just an hour west of Gainesville. Whether you roll in with an RV or pitch a tent beneath the canopy, the Hideaway offers 1,500 feet of boardwalk through untouched hammock, riverside trails to secret picnic spots, fishing holes, local springs, and a kind of peace that lingers long after you leave. Reconnect, recharge, remember what matters. Visit thehideawayfl.com to plan your stay. Let's talk about the beginning of your journey, Garrett. You talked about learning selflessness in the military. So kind of talk us through what led you to the military, what was going on in your life that became the option you wanted to take and kind of propelled you into this continual life of service.
Yeah. So the military, I think, was just kind of always interested me because, my grandparents or my grandfathers were in the military. And so I always just kind of had an interest in it. Throughout high school, I wasn't a good student. My grades sucked. I mean, C average, cool. I played sports, basketball, baseball, golf. I was really banking on having a scholarship in golf. And then when that didn't come through, it was like, well, shit, what other options do I have? But I will bring up a big point that was kind of the tipping point of my decision to go into the military. It was obviously 9/11. I was in high school at that time, and that time hit. So it was just like, hey, the stories we were told is they attacked us. We need to go defend our country. And so that was a big calling for me because I already showed interest and already had interest in the military. And so, once I had enough credits, I graduated early from high school, and my parents had to sign the dotted line for me to join the military before I was an adult. So that was kind of the tipping point of why I went in there. And I always had the idea of, the military was to go and fight. So I joined the infantry. I was airborne. not knowing, that there's several other jobs in the military at that point. So I went in to fight and jump out of airplanes and, go do cool shit. So
Yeah.
it's kind of what started my journey and the reason why I got into the military. So
How did that shape you, you think, being so young and so impressionable? And, I was in right after the first Gulf War, so we were basically at peace or small conflicts that popped up around the world, but nothing like what you were entering where you're like, I'm going and I'm going to deploy and I'm going to actually be tested.
yeah, I think you grew up quickly, right? Um, and I say grow up quickly because I was immature to shit. Like us and the guys, were 18, being led by 20-year-olds going to war. We were super immature. But, it's just one of those things of that's all you kind of knew. They put you in there. You trained and I won't say they kind of like brainwashed you, but they kind of did, they were like, hey, you guys are badasses. We're going to train like we're badasses and we're going to go do badass shit. And that was the whole point of being in the infantry, right? To go defend our country. And you had a lot of badass brothers right next to you who, would have died for you, would have done anything for you. And likewise, I would have done the same for them at that time. So I think it was just one of those things of, hey, you were surrounded by a group of individuals like-minded on one mission, and that was to go kill the bad guy, really. I mean, that ultimately. So we all had the same mission. We didn't care, and we knew that we'd get through it together. And so that was kind of the big thing within the military of my selflessness that came up because I didn't want anything happen to the person next to me. They were, the best things that I had in life at the moment, and pretty much the only ones we could count on at that time. So it was a very close-knit thing. And I think I can relate that to a lot of things in life is you find people on the same mission as you and you get close with them and success is pretty much undoubtable. It's going to happen if you have people on the same mindset, same mission as you, same goals, and you're close with them, man. It's a powerful thing. So
Let's stay there for a second, Garrett, because you went. I think you fought both in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to something where we know we're going to die, or there's a potential we could die. And we have to come to terms with our mortality of, hey, I may not make it out of here, but if I am going to make it out of here, it's only because of the people to my left and right. And the same for them. So how did armoring up your emotions, how did armoring up your spirit end up affecting you after the war was over, after it was time to come home?
Yeah, it affected me greatly, because they train you to, like you said, armor up for war, get ready for battle, and you're ready to go. You got your armor on, you got your ammo, you're thinking you're the most badass mother effer there is. But then when you get home and then maybe it's your time to get out of the military, they don't teach you, hey, take off the armor, take off those things that are going to truly benefit you back in the civilian life, right? They just kind of been like, oh, you want to get out? Well, all right, here's your papers, turn in your gear. This is what you need to do. This is the process. Oh yeah, well, we'll check on you. You'll go to the doctor's office and those things, but they don't truly help you mentally adjust, which is a big thing. And I think that's kind of a rabbit hole that we could go down. But PTSD and veteran suicide and those things is greatly affected on, I think, the transition from getting out of the military. But yeah, putting the armor on was a lot easier than taking the armor off. That's for sure.
And that seems like it should be the inverse, right? It seems like it should be harder to get people that can build up the emotional toughness to go and fight for a country. And basically, like, you're going to kill them before they try to kill you. That's the name of war. But we find it's easier to armor up and stay armored than it is to armor up and then remove it. So what do you get if you think back to young Garrett when he's about to get out of the military? What's something you wished they would have asked you?
Yeah, good question. I don't know if they did ask me this. They could have, but I don't remember it. But it's kind of, what's your plan? Like, hey, what's your plan? Do you have steps to reach this plan? Do you have a job lined up? Are you going back to school? Just those simple questions to maybe guide you in the right direction of, hey, you got another purpose other than the military, right? You want to go back to school. Okay. What steps have you taken to go back and get a degree in whatever, right? I don't remember them asking, what's your next plan once you leave base or whatever the case may be, right? I think just that of maybe showing, hey, here's some more resources to help you with your plan would be a great step for the military or those individuals wanting to exit. Because like I said, they might have asked that. And I could have just been, I got it figured out because I was young and dumb still when I got out. But that's something I don't remember if they did or not, but would be very useful if they did. So.
Yeah, that's a great question. And here's something, though, that we can hang our hat on, right? If they did ask it, it wasn't asked by somebody that had influence over you or that had standing with you.
No.
Right? Which is a different thing, right? If I have to, when I'm about to transition out, I got to go to a special meeting in a different office and I hear people that I've never met before, that I never sweated with, I never bled alongside of, telling me all this stuff, I'm probably not listening. Right? But now if my sergeant that was out in the war with me, my leadership from the war, the people that I've actually bonded with come to me and go, hey, what is your plan? That might have stuck a little more. And I think that's sometimes where we let ourselves off the hook is it's somebody else's job to help you figure this out. Mm-hmm. But really it's just about caring, right? And just taking a moment and go, okay, Garrett's about to leave. I'm not going to have him here with me anymore. Let's make sure he's the best he can be when he leaves. What do I do? How do I help him?
Yeah, and I think that's a key point of leadership as a whole, right? Is the effect of caring. And the military, right? It's a well-oiled machine, right? There's reasons for everything, but you're right. You hit the nail on the head where, all right, you're getting out, so go see this guy. Now, for this thing, you have to go see this guy. I've never met this major. I've never met this so-and-so. I'm here so you can sign off on my papers because I want to get out, right? But if it was my sergeant talking to me, and if every paperwork went through the sergeant who, like you said, we were in the stuff together, it definitely would have meant a lot more. And I think that time would have meant more. I would have had a feeling of, someone who cared for me overseas is still caring, whether he did or not, but at least there was that emotional connection at some point that has his best interests of me wanting to succeed as I get out, right? Because ultimately it's up to that leader, because you can truly tell good leadership and whether they care or not, because it truly is a feeling. It's a connection that you can't really, I guess you could put it into words, but it's more of an emotional feeling. It's an attachment. It's a connection, if you will, of, someone truly cares. You can just feel it, right?
Yeah, it goes beyond words.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And so, no, you're right. If it was that way, it probably would have been a lot different, for sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting, right? Because we outsource a lot of that emotional stuff, the softer skills, if you will, goes to these people in these other offices. But who we really want to hear it from, or we need to know it's okay from, is the toughest people in our lives. Right? When that person you look up to and you respect, you're like, man, they do tough shit all the time. When they're like, hey, dude, how are you actually feeling today? That's somebody you may actually talk to. And that's one of the things I throw out to our community of veterans, first responders, just anybody that's listening is you never know what door you're going to open with somebody by asking them a question, by listening, by being interested. But that door can't open if you don't at least show up.
Yeah. I think the big piece is, like you said, asking those questions and then just shutting up, right? Like sincerely asking a question, how are you? And shutting up. Don't try to lead by giving advice. Sometimes a great leader just sits there, shuts his mouth, and listens because people need to vent, right? People need to tell their story. People need to feel safe, heard. And if it's someone who that individual looks up to and that individual takes time to be quiet and just listen, man, that connection is huge. It's so huge, right? And I think a lot of people in life just want to be heard, want to express their feelings and not be judged. And so I think as a leader, it's one of those things of just, hey man, shut up. You don't always need to give your 2 cents because you're already on that pedestal from who you're talking with, right? Just shut up and listen. And that's all people want, right? To be heard. So I think, those soft skills that a lot of people want to pass on or push aside is, I think, what makes truly a great leader, right? Because if we're only good in the hard shit and the physical stuff or the tactical things, but we're not geared at the soft skills, are you truly a well all-around leader? If
Right.
I'm only good at 90% of the stuff, but the 10% I push off to someone else, I might be a good leader, but am I a great leader? If I had those 10% of soft skills, man, I'd be freaking awesome, right?
Right. And those usually just require time.
It does. Yeah.
It doesn't require any additional skill set. It doesn't require any additional training. You just got to make the time to connect with your people.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and the want to, right? You got to really want to do it. You got to really want to care.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, for sure. Which is, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, how many leaders? Because you were also in law enforcement, right? So we have both sides of this. We have the military side overseas. We have the first responder law enforcement here in the States. Both of which require you to be willing to die for the people next to you, right? Like, we go to work. Both jobs require you're saying, okay, I may not make it home today. Like, I'm okay with that. But yet we don't truly take time to know who is willing to make that sacrifice with us. And that's where we struggle, right? Because then we're putting people, what they do is more important than who they are. And then we start to see ourselves that same way. So that leads to this question for you, Garrett. What's something the public rarely understands about the weight that you carry in both those roles that you wish they knew more about?
Yeah, the weight. I guess if the public, if I wanted the public to know the weight that I carried, I think it's not just them wanting to know about me. And as I've got out of the military and the police work, I've done a lot of, self-work, personal development work. And from what I've learned is everyone has the same fears, the same thoughts, the same issues in life. It just might be tweaked, regarding to what they are and who they are. But everyone truly has the same issues in life, whether you're in a leadership role, which everyone ultimately is in a leadership role, whether they want to admit it or not. but whatever role or whatever lens you're looking at an individual, we all have the same issues going on in life. So don't think of a leader as, some great person who's got all their shit figured out, because they don't. They have the same emotions, they have the same feelings, they have the same issues in life. And I think as a whole, as a race, as a people on this earth, we need to understand that you and I are really no different. We're truly not. And if we can figure out that, I have the same fears as you, or I have the same issues as you, it's just, how can we relate to these individuals, and how can we connect with them and realize that, hey, we're not all that different. So why do we have so many issues in this world and these things? And I think if we kind of put this perspective as, if I see you in a different light, in a different lens as me going through the same shit, then man, we can learn so much about each other. And going back to my personal development stuff and kind of the path I was on, that's some things I greatly learned was, how can I connect and learn from this individual by asking the right questions and then shutting up and listening. Right. And then when they ask the questions, to be vulnerable enough, realizing that, hey, my story is not that special, but if I share it, they might get something from it that maybe they haven't learned yet, because they're on a different path in life right now, or just a different version of it. Right. So it's one of those things of really just shutting up and listening to learn something about their journey and their path. But then also, one big thing for me was to be more vulnerable and share, because everyone has their story and it can connect with so many other people. But if you don't share it, you don't know who you're going to help. You don't know who you're going to connect with. And so you need to be vulnerable enough to share your thoughts, share your words, share your stories, and hopefully it aligns with somebody. So that was a long-winded question or answer to your question, but
no, it's good. Let's talk about your journey to that, because I know, having known you, that wasn't the easiest road, right? To start shedding the armor and peeling back the layers, to really discover who you wanted to become, not holding on to who you were. How was that journey for you? And was there a point where you realized, like, okay, I need to do something about this because my life is passing me by?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm still on the journey, and we all are, but it was just one of those things that, I was in a very dark space after the military, and then I've kind of found some purpose in life. And then after getting out of the police force, it was kind of like, hey, now what do I do? And so luckily, in both instances, my wife, Rachel, has kind of always been, someone who's pushed me along, not through her words or those things, but through her actions. She's done a lot of personal development stuff on herself. And she's always been like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. But I always sit back and, I'm the wallflower until I figure things out for myself. And I've seen what's worked for her. So then I started to dive into, I think it started with, just kind of some meditation and being present with myself and being okay with that. And then ultimately that led into some other things. And, I've done anywhere from, ayahuasca to medicine retreats to personal development retreats. And it's these things of, you just take, not one thing is a be all fix all, right? And you just take little pieces and parts of, what retreat and what those things, and then consciously work on them over time and be focused on those as you continue to grow. And I think the breaking point for me was, it was like Rachel was really said, like, dude, I don't remember the exact words, but like, hey, what shit or get off the pot, like I'm going forwards. I want you with me,
Mm.
but let's go. I know you're meant for more, um, but you're not showing me right now, and so that kind of was an eye opener because, you know, I, I love Rachel, I love my family and those things, but she's like, you're not living up to your full potential. So let's get going. Um, and so that was kind of one of those things of like, what am I doing? Why why am I sitting here feeling sorry for myself, self-pity after leaving the police force? And I think it was really tied to, we kind of talk about this personally on the side note of personal identity, right? I had my life, my identity was a police officer. That's what I was, that's who I was, that's who I am. And when that left, I was like, well, shit, who am I?
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think
that's interesting. Let me stop you there for a
yeah.
second, right? Because I think that's such an interesting dilemma because you chose to leave it,
Mhm.
yet you also chose to not let it go,
Right.
right? And we've been in circles where we're around those guys still. And you're like, wait, you walked away from the career because it was unfulfilling, because it no longer served you, but now you're holding on to who you were, so you can't grow. You can't do both.
Right.
So my question to you, Garrett, I want to go back to, because this is, I think, where a lot of that stems from is our ego, right? There's a certain ego that comes with being a soldier. There's a certain ego that comes with being a first responder. So to hear those words from your wife, that you're not living up to who she knows you can be,
Mhm.
how did you put your ego aside to go, okay, she's probably right?
Yeah. Yeah. Put the ego aside. I kind of weighed the options, right?
That's one way.
Like my life is really good, with Rachel, my two daughters. How would my life be if they left? Right. Like, so it's one of those things. I'm going to weigh these options like, hey, my life's great with them. I kind of want them to continue to be in my life. So I have a great life. If I better myself, is that going to continue to make my life even better? Or if I sit here and self pity and wish I was still a cop or have that identity, like, and then I leave, is life going to get better or worse then? So it was
Mm,
just one of those, scenarios. It was like an option. Let's weigh these options out. And it's pretty simple looking back, right? Like,
yeah.
hey, let's fucking get better myself, which ultimately is going to make my life better, which is going to make my daughter's life better, which is going to make Rachel's life. So it's a compounding effect, right? And it's funny because looking back, it's such a simple choice, right? But in the
Yeah.
moment, because we're still sitting there, we're still stuck in the past, stuck in the has-beens and the wishes and those things. It's like, what's going to light that fire under your butt to better yourselves and help others and help yourself. And ultimately, again, it has that ripple effect for everyone you touch and whoever's in your circle. So for me, it was just weighing those options out. And it was kind of an ultimatum. It was like, dude, like live up to your potential or you're not going to continue dragging me down. I was like, well,
Yeah.
shit, better live up to it. Right.
Yeah. That's such an admirable thing to be that honest, right? And
Mhm.
to not just dismiss, but to go, okay, she's probably right. Like I gotta work here. And I love your journey. You tried a bunch of different things to help you become who you wanted to be, or at least kind of get the momentum going back there, which has led you to a new purpose, right? And kind of one that you said has been underlying, and that is being selfless and serving others again. So, how was it that in a journey that's selfish, you find that you can share it with others, right? Because I think too many times people, they don't want to work on themselves, they want to serve others, and they try to serve others from an empty cup of self. So, was there a moment in one of the retreats or what you were going through where you're like, wait a second, I'm getting better. I'm becoming who I want to be. I need to share this.
Mhm. You know, I, there was one retreat, but I think doing the several personal development skills and those things that built up to this, to be able to get to a point to realize this. And it was just recent, really. And it was actually, we went to a Tony Robbins event. It was like Unleash the Power Within or something like that. And the reason we went there, I took my daughter, my oldest daughter, because we wanted her to, just kind of get more positive, more energy, more, just try to think better, and I wish I would have done this at the age of 12, because I would have been light years ahead of where I am today. So we brought her there as in Anaheim, California, and took her there hoping she'd get, one thing out of it. And dude, I went in, I was like, all right, I'm going to play full out. That way she can see me. She'll probably feed off me, and hopefully she'll enjoy it a little more. So I went in full out, didn't want to go at all. Rachel signed us up for this thing. Thing would be great for Helena. Okay. So I'm like, fine, fuck it, I'll go. So we go, and I'm like, I'm going to go full out so she can see her dad doing these things and hopefully buy into it. Well, dude, I freaking got sucked into it like nothing else, and I enjoyed the shit out of it. And the people there were so like-minded and wanted, the positive energy. You can just feel it in this building. And then you start talking to these individuals, and they're like, yeah, I got this and that. And it's just like so inspiring to hear and listen to these people. And then, I really got sucked in. And within this event, Tony really worked on limiting beliefs, right? And how to change those and restructure them. Because limiting beliefs are really, it's not like we decided what our limiting beliefs are going to be, right? Mm-hmm. They're given to us through maybe our parenting as we were growing up as kids, or society, or however we were raised has an effect on our limiting beliefs, right? And so how do we change those? And one of my limiting beliefs was like, I'm not enough to lead people. And when I say lead people, I mean the first responders, the veterans, because we can go into deeper detail, but of how to help them through PTSD or the transition of getting out of the military and finding their purpose within the civilian life, right? And so one of my limiting beliefs was like, I'm not smart enough to do this. I don't have this, that, and the other thing. And so really working through that retreat, I realized like, that's all bullshit, right? I had to reframe those and did it. And then it was like, hey, I started reaching out to other individuals of, here's an idea that I've always had. I've had this for years and years and years, but those limiting beliefs kept telling me, hey, I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough. Who would listen to me? And then I finally just reached out to, you were one of the individuals. Matt was another. And then talking with my wife and some other people is like, hey, this is a great idea. And I finally started to believe in myself as I transition and reframe those beliefs and thoughts. And it's like, hey, if I can just help one person, that's a fucking success, right? Because, we put these ideas, these wants, these dreams, these goals, like to be on the level of, let's say, Elon Musk. But it's like, hey, man, if I can help one person from, maybe ultimately taking their life to finding another purpose in life, that's a fucking win. That's a win in my eyes. That's a win in God's eyes. That's what it's all about, is serving others. And I think that's a great thing. So it was one of those things of kind of transitioning. Hey, it starts with one. It doesn't have to be millions and millions of people. Let's start with one. And that's a success. And once you kind of figure that out, start with 2 and then 3, and then it's just compounding, right? So it's just kind of getting over those thoughts and that, and going back to that retreat, man, I bought into it, and I'm glad I went full out, because not only that has it kind of reframes how I live life now, but it's truly like my daughters keep going back to it and saying, hey, remember this, remember that. And so it's fun to see that, she took some of that good stuff, that positive stuff in with hers too. So it was fun to see, and still is.
Yeah, you're giving them permission to do the same, right? You're giving them an example to see what it looks like when you commit to something. Hey everybody, it's Jerrod Hardy here. If the On Purpose podcast has sparked something in you, maybe a shift, a question, or a deeper dive, my Excellence in Leadership course is built to help you act upon it. This isn't just about leading others, it's about leading yourself with intention, resilience, and clarity. Whether you're an individual chasing growth or a team ready to level up, I offer custom coaching and speaking engagements to meet you where you are. Visit teamhardy.net and let's grow with purpose. So what you're talking about is missions purpose, which we're proud to partner with and collaborate with, and we got big hopes for the impact it's going to have. But as you were sitting and thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to do, what gap did you see, or what space did you feel you could serve the veteran and first responder community that wasn't currently being done?
Yeah. The gap. I think the gap was, since being a veteran and, working in the first responder space, we knew what that felt like. When I got out of the military, I was in a very dark place, which a lot of individuals are. There's tons of stories out there, so I won't dive into that, but I was in a dark space, and it wasn't until I had a purpose, another mission in life, that got me off from that dark area and started seeing the light, right? And that kind of drove me into becoming a police officer and those things. So it's one of those things of, there's so many men groups out there, which there should be, because there's a lot of men out there who are afraid to talk about their feelings, need help, but won't express it. But this was because I've lived it and those things. So it's just one of those things of, hey, taking these little things, tweaking them, knowing that there is a purpose for you, knowing that there's other individuals out there like you looking for the same thing. And there's other men that care and want to truly see you succeed, right? And I found kind of a hole in there only because I lived it. And selfishly, I wanted to start this group because I wanted to be around men who want better things in life. So honestly, mission's purpose was selfishly started because I wanted to surround myself with individuals, men who wanted to grow better, do better things in life, and ultimately see others succeed.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think most great ideas come from a selfish perspective, and then we build upon it because we're honing our craft, if you will. We're honing the actual product, and when we share it, it's ready to go. So I think that's perfectly normal. I think that's a great place to start. But what I love about it is the clarity it's brought you, right? And the fact, like we've talked numerous times, like, I've been sitting on this idea for so long, dude.
Yeah, it's been shit. I've been out of the military since it's been like 15 years coming, 20 years coming. I've had this idea of it truly, it stemmed from, seeing the brothers I served with in the military finding themselves in a dark place too, and ultimately taking their own lives, right? And it's one of those things of, sorry, I didn't think I'd get emotional talking about it, but it's one of those things, like, if they only had that connection, that peace within a community, which they had in the military, right? Of saying, hey, let's hold you accountable. What do you want in life now?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, you want to start a business? You want to find a job? You want to start a marriage or a relationship, whatever the case. I wish I would have been there sooner in knowing how to do that, right? To help them find that purpose at that time, because purposes evolve and you can have several purposes in life, but to have them so they can focus on moving forward instead of always looking in the rearview mirror and thinking of the bad shit and not thinking that they don't have a purpose in life, right? So it's definitely came from seeing a lot of individuals, my friends, pass away after service because the lack of purpose.
Yeah.
And so, I know there's a lot of industries out there and PTSD things and groups and challenges, but this is my way of, trying to give back. And whoever wants to, whoever mission's purpose aligns with, we'd love to help you find your purpose, or at least just have a community where you can BS with a bunch of guys. And then when you're ready to start that personal development growth and bettering yourself and going through life purposefully, so it really stemmed from losing some individuals, but then finally, man, getting the courage to actually think that, hey, I can do this, but ultimately I don't have to do it alone, because I know a lot of great dudes who are on the same path and alignment that I'm on right now. So
Yeah, it's fantastic. And yeah, we thank you for having the courage to lean into it. We thank Rachel for pushing and continuing to grow
right.
to where that became the norm and the expected behavior. So Garrett, if you could speak to the version of yourself that was still carrying everything alone, what would today's Garrett tell him?
Yeah, that's a good question. Talking back to the Garrett years ago goes back to that song, that theme song, "You're Worth It," right? Just find the ways. I think a big thing is finding the right people on the path that you want to take, and truly just sticking with those individuals, because it works both ways. If you find a group that's negatively, sitting around drinking, talking about the past and doing bad things, that's where you're going to end up. But ultimately, if you find brothers, friends, family that are wanting more in life and wanting to help other people, man, hold on to them tight, because that's your crew. That's who you need to stick with. So, and I found it, and everything's going to be all right. Things will
Yeah,
work out for you.
no, that's awesome, dude. Where can the community learn more about missions purpose and see if it's a good fit for them?
Yeah, so right now you can go to the website's missionspurpose.com. On Instagram, it's missions.purpose. And that's kind of the big ones, is that Facebook, Instagram, and the website. So it's kind of where we post all the information on. And then it's the community itself is through an app on school, where we do monthly challenges. We have monthly live calls. And then ultimately there's little things in there to continue helping everyone within that community push forward and kind of grow. The challenges have been fun. Um, and yeah, so the big thing is the community is on an app in school. That's kind of where right now where we're focused on, and as the years coming through, we're going to put on some adventure retreats, some personal development retreats. So if you're interested in those, feel free to reach out. But yeah, see if it's a good fit, because I know there's tons of men groups out there, and if those align with you, please, if you're going through a dark time, connect with those. But we're open if you're a first responder and veteran, and want the brotherhood, want personal development, coaching, and like-minded individuals. We'd love to have you there. So
Yeah. And we're proud to be part of the Missions Purpose on School app and the whole project going forward. It's our way of also giving back and serving those that continue to serve, and just sharing what I truly believe, and that is like that your service is a great chapter of your life, but it's not the only chapter of your life. And sometimes you need to hear from other people. It's okay to turn the page, and it doesn't make you lesser than. It doesn't make you not as tough or bravado to move to a new place in life. And this is a good place to do it, right? Because everybody's moving and grooving and challenging themselves. And what better way to do it than with a bunch of people that you actually care about?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, your story. If you were reading a book and it was only one chapter, it'd be a boring book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And if it was a movie, you wouldn't watch the same scene over and over. So sometimes we got to give ourselves permission to flip that page and write a new chapter. So Garrett, thank you so much for the work you're doing. Thank you for putting that ego aside and getting the work done on you to be able to serve others better. It's been an awesome journey to watch, dude. We're super proud of you. We're super proud of the family that you have and that you're continuing to create. And we're honored to be on the journey with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for allowing me the time to be on Purpose podcast. And thanks for being a part of Missions Purpose. That truly means a lot. Coming from you, like you said, 20 years, almost 20 years. I've always looked up to you. You've always been a friend, colleague, a leader, as we talked about. So no, I appreciate you and everyone who has supported, your podcast, and then who are starting to support Missions Purpose too. Love you guys and appreciate you.
Thanks, Garrett. Everybody have an awesome week. If this episode resonated with you, get over to Missions Purpose on the school app, like them on social media, and continue to live your life with purpose. Have a great week, everybody. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.